Greetings and welcome to this week's episode of Municipal Focus. My name's Bob Hayes and I'm going to be your show host for today's show. As you can see, I'm at Camp Kiwanee in front of the beautiful Needles Lodge. This is absolutely one of the most picturesque, nicest places to be in the town of Hanson. But if you've been following, there's a little bit of controversy going on between the Recreation Commission, the Board of Selectmen, and a few other entities in the town. There's some sort of an inquiry, some might call it, and there's some sort of an investigation. And if you watched my last show, since I give out my phone number at the beginning of every show, which is 617-538-0189, or my email address is bobhayes4433@gmail.com, I have had a tremendous outpouring of questions about what goes on at Camp Kiwanee on both sides of the coin. So as we move through tonight's show, hopefully I will get some live footage with some people that are going to be up at Town Hall with the Save Our Kiwanee signs to let you know what's going on at Camp Kiwanee. But you couldn't ask for a more picturesque, quiet setting that I'm standing in right now. It's a beautiful place. Stay tuned. We will be back. This is Municipal Focus. Welcome back to Municipal Focus. My name is Bob Hayes, and as you can see, we're in front of Hanson Town Hall with a giant group of enthusiastic supporters of Save Our Camp Kiwanee. If you looked at the footage before that we did, it would show you the beautiful camp that is up off of Route 58 in Hanson. And that's what these people are here to save. They are worried that the camp is being endangered by an investigation or a / inquiry that is going on by the current administration. They have yet to see a report. It's 8 or 9 months old. There's a long-term solution maybe coming tonight at the Selectmen's meeting, but the people behind me are here to support and make sure that Camp Kiwanee stays intact for future generations of children in the town of Hanson. So if you stay tuned and you keep watching Municipal Focus, we'll be back with some interviews with some people that are right across the street that want to tell you their story about beautiful Camp Kiwanee. This is Municipal Focus, and I'm back. I'm Bob Hayes. We're in front of Hanson Town Hall, and as I told you, we have some very enthusiastic noise in the background about Save Our Camp Kiwanee. But I have a young lady with me. Her name's Mrs. Kitchenham, and she's a 40-year resident of the town. Mrs. Kitchenham, why are you here supporting Camp Kiwanee?
Well, let's see, my son was 6 when we first got involved with some of the plays here in town. He went to camp, to Cranberry Cove. He learned to swim there. He was on swim team during high school. We've gone to the plays. We've gone to community suppers there. It's just been an absolutely outstanding experience for us. And the Bloss family's enthusiasm and creativity have just added so much to this community. I just can't say enough for how fun it's been over the years to be involved with that.
So you feel like you're part of a fabric of the camp, it sounds like. You've been there for 40 years. Your children kind of grew up there. They learned to swim there, and that's one of the reasons you're here.
Yep, I now take my grandchildren.
Wonderful. I know that grandchildren thing. I've got that going on too. It's a great thing, isn't it?
Yes.
One of the things that is puzzling to a lot of the people in town is a 9-month investigation, or an inquiry as some people would refer to it. $27,000 allegedly spent with attorneys and no report yet. What are you thinking?
I'm absolutely upset about the way it's been handled. I don't think people have been treated properly in terms of they should know whatever is being, all of us should know what's being investigated and what sorts of concerns they have. To be doing this in a secret sort of fashion just isn't the way we do things in a nice democracy. This is a place where most of these people have just donated so much time to the camp. much more than I ever have. I did climb up on the roof once when it needed to be shingled and helped with that. But basically, we've used it more than we have, spent time there. But all of the time that some of these people have donated, being on the committee and doing things, I just don't think they're being treated fairly.
Well, I think in some of the instances, some of the reports that I've heard, and again, these reviews are coming so people can kind of know what's going on and hopefully get to the bottom of the camp. There's been some discussion of people not answering questions, and that's what's taken 9 months. What would you say about that?
I'm sorry, I don't personally know anything about that. The people that I know who are involved with the camp are just very wonderful, upstanding people, and I would assume that they would probably be as helpful as they could.
Well, Mrs. Kitchenham, thank you so much for coming out tonight. You can see that in your eyes and in your discussions, you are fairly passionate about the camp.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
We'll be back. Welcome back to Municipal Focus. As you can see, I have two people that I'm interviewing, Jody Hooper and Brian Cameron, who are also big supporters of Camp Kiwanee. And they want to give you their stories, but I've got to ask them a couple of questions. Both townies?
Born and raised.
How long?
45 years.
Okay. Jody?
28.
28, 45. Sounds good to me. Both passionate about Camp Kiwanee?
I grew up there as a kid. I spent 8 o'clock in the morning to 6 o'clock at night there for the first 15 years of my life. I can't imagine what Cranberry Cove would mean without that. I can't imagine what Camp Kiwanee would mean without it. My family is, my brother, his family. They do all the plays up there every week, every play that they have, every season. My niece does her singing. My nephew, my brother do their acting up there. My sister-in-law, my sister, they have been part of the stagehands. It's been instrumental in my family. My parents had a place where they could bring their kids, know that they were safe, know that they were going to learn, know that they were going to grow, have great families around. It's an amazing place to be. I can't imagine what Hanson would be if Camp Kiwanee and Cranberry Cove were not part of our family's life.
Jody, what's your
Yes.
story about Camp Kiwanee?
Very similar to Brian's. 8 o'clock in the morning, we were dropped off, not picked up till 6. I spent every minute of the summer there, and then it actually helped me become who I am today in coaching and became the swimmer that I was, because the family is not only united at the Cove, but outside the Cove. We swam together during winter swim, during summer swim, on swim teams together, but that all started because of, Cranberry Cove and Camp Kiwanee, and because of Jack. I mean, I know with everything that's going on and stuff, we lose the essence of what Jack did down there every single day, and that was his home, and he made it our home.
When you say to Jack, you're referring about Jack Keane, I take it.
I am.
Jack was a very instrumental figure at Camp Kiwanee for many, many years. I knew Jack. Brian, I have to ask you this. There's been talk of privatization. What's your thoughts?
I can't understand why you would privatize something when the entire 40 some odd years that we've been going there, the camp has run well, the Cranberry Cove has run well. There used to be a time when the selectmen used to show up 2 or 3 times a year down to the camp, used to show up to Cranberry Cove, and they would actually participate. We had Family Fun Day. It was how the season ended every year, and the selectmen were actually at Family Fun Day and participating as part of one of the teams, whether it be a water balloon toss, an egg toss, part of a swimming relay. I remember one of the selectmen back, 30 years ago now, the eat a cracker and try to whistle. Yep. You had to eat 3 crackers and then try to whistle, and the selectmen all participated in that. And it was fun, and they were a part of the community, and they were part of the action, and they understood what Camp Kiwanee and the Cranberry Cove meant to the public and what it meant to our community. And I just think it's an invaluable resource, and that if the selectmen were to go back to their grassroots. And I know that several of our selectmen have children that were part of the Camp Kiwanee and Cranberry Cove experience. And I know that their kids thrived because of that experience. And I can't imagine that if they were to go back in time, that they would change anything about their child's experience with Camp Kiwanee or the Cranberry Cove. I think the volunteers have done an admirable job. They've excelled. I've never seen Camp Kiwanee doing as much as it's done in my life. When I was a kid, you didn't have all those shows. You used to have the Halloween show that Wes Bloss would always throw on, but doing all the plays and doing all those things and doing all the weddings, those weren't a regular part of Camp Kiwanee, and those are a huge asset. And the recreation committee, the volunteer committee, they did that. They created that, not some outside group that doesn't have a vested interest and a vested knowledge in what this community is looking for.
Well, Brian, as early as this evening, and I hate to date my shows, but it's kind of important, the selectmen are going to open the warrant, as I understand it, and discuss Article 32. And what Article 32, again, as I understood it, was the selectmen were looking to see if the townspeople would vote to send out an RFP, which is a request for proposal for the viewers that are watching that may not know that, because we throw those terms around fairly lightly. A request for proposal to not so much to outsource the camp, but to see if there is another way looking into running the camp in a more relaxed fashion, as they might say it. Again, I'm just looking at the article as it was written last week, and they're reopening this week. Jody, what's your thoughts?
I don't agree with it at all. First of all, again, when I watched it, there was some things that happened at the last town meeting that kind of got a lot of us upset. They had said that the Camp Kiwanee stuff was all done. A large portion of us left, only for that article to be proposed again, with no one there to be able to back it or say anything. And, I'm glad that one of the selectmen did stand up and say no, because it wasn't worded right, or however they claimed. My thing is, even if we get one person there to run it and still have the rec commission, I don't think the town people should have to pay for that. I think that the rec commission is doing a great job. I think it should be kept as volunteers because, like Brian said, it's invested back into our community. We're done wasting money. I mean, we're going to be up probably past, by the time this is done, $40,000. And now we want to have another position to pay. Why not give this back to the hands of the rec commission?
My question is, why did they create this in the first place? Who thought to themselves, we need to create this Article 32? Who said things were not running in the fashion that they are supposed to be running? My understanding is that weddings were up and that the camp was running and thriving and that Cranberry Cove was running and thriving. The public isn't looking for it to be privatized. The public isn't looking for Article 32. So who thought to themselves, man, this is a great idea. Let's come up with Article 32. Let's come up with an idea of privatizing and putting this out to a vote. I understand that when the vote goes out, we're going to get a chance to shut it down. But I don't understand why we have to actually go through that process. It seems like a wasted step when the overall overwhelming public who actually utilize Camp Kiwanee, who actually utilize Cranberry Cove, don't want to see this in the first place. So I don't know who thought it was a good idea to create Article 32 in the first place.
Well, Brian, that's a question that we're going to have to ask someone else because I have no idea either how Article 32 came about. I think, and I hear different rumors about there were 3 or 4 committees that got together, but again, I don't know. And I think that might be a good question for this evening for the Board of Selectmen as how Article 32 did come about. There are people that are saying the investigation or the inquiry is a good thing. It's just like any other committees that are audited are done. And I know there was a successful audit done on Camp Kiwanee, which is pretty atypical of how boards are run, correct?
I understand, but we still don't understand what the accusations are, and the rec commission, as far as the public has been told, was told not to talk about anything. The rec commission hasn't talked about anything because they still don't know what the accusations against them are. So how do you defend yourself against accusations that you don't know what they are? I mean, that's tough.
I think that's probably the toughest question of the night. How do you defend yourself against accusations? But maybe, just thinking out loud, again, we're trying to give the public a view of what's going on. Maybe there aren't any atypical accusations. There's just, as Selectman Young said to me last week, he'd like to think more of this as an inquiry and not an investigation.
You can call it, that's semantics, the wording that they're using. An inquiry is great, but generally, if you have an inquiry, there is a back and forth, there's a dialogue. What is it that we're looking for from you? This is the information we're looking for from you, and this is the information we'd like you to give us, but nobody's willing to tell the board, the board, what they did wrong. Nobody's telling the committee what they did wrong. So you can't answer a question. You can't be, what would you say they were looking for? They were looking for the truth? They were looking for honesty.
Honesty, right.
Well, how can you be honest about something? You can be as honest as you want, but if I don't know that I'm being accused of walking too fast and someone says, what did you do wrong? Well, and I say, well, what did I do wrong? You say, well, what did you do wrong? What did I do wrong? We can go back and forth on that forever. But if I don't know I walked too fast, I can't give you a truthful answer. So if they're not asking the right questions, that's not the volunteer's fault. Ask the right questions, and unfortunately, maybe you have to let people know, okay, this is what's wrong. This is what we're hearing is wrong, and would like an answer to that. I'm sure that the people who are feeling like they're accused would be more than willing to answer those questions as long as they knew what the actual question was.
Right.
So quickly to summarize what both of you have said in your interview is you'd like it summed up, you want it to end, you want the $27,000 not to increase to $40,000.
Yeah.
You would like to see that stop, and you'd like to see this thing move forward. Because of right now, as I understand it, there is no rec commission. I believe everyone has resigned.
That's what we all understand. I mean, if you watched the last, or if you attended the last selectmen's meeting, they accepted the resignations.
Well, my whole thing, like I said, what I was kind of going off on is that, even if would you stay in a position that you're being accused of what you don't know, just exactly what Brian said? I wouldn't. And after 8 months of this and going higher, to be dragged through the mud almost, with their names. I mean, these are people that some of them have served for 16 years.
I believe a lot of these people that are on the Recreation Commission have served on several other boards. So I want to thank both of you for coming. Brian, thank you. Jody, thank you.
You're welcome.
I can see the passion in your eyes. Everybody's at it. Stay with what you're doing. Hopefully it ends soon and we come to a civil ending. Camp Kiwanee stays intact. I was just up there. We opened the show up there. You couldn't ask for a more beautiful place or a bigger asset to the town of Hanson.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. I have 3 more very enthusiastic supporters of Camp Kiwanee and Save Our Camp. And if you looked earlier at the show, you would see we have a tremendous amount of support out here for Save Our Camp Kiwanee. Tina is with me this evening, and Sam, which has got to be Samantha, and Hannah. Thank you all for coming. Hannah, give us a little info on what your experiences were at Camp Kiwanee and what brought you here this evening.
My experiences at Camp Kiwanee were definitely the swim team. I did that for many years, and going to see the plays were awesome, and I love Camp Kiwanee so much. It stinks seeing all this happen to it now.
Sam, what do you think?
It's definitely sad to see it happen. Camp Kiwanee's been in my life pretty much my whole life, from Girl Scouts to school dances to just hearing the stories and going on a field trip in 6th grade and learning all the history, and it's sad. I don't like it.
Gina, we're talking about the future of Camp Kiwanee and what you would like to see of outcome of the inquiry or the investigation, and in your own words, what you think should be done.
I would like to see the camp run by the people of the town. I feel that the people in the town get together and they really have worked for this for a long time. I hear that, that they wanted to get a private person in. I'm not sure what that's all about, but I'd rather see them hire a person for the town to maybe be a part of the camp and help that way instead of doing it the other way. I'm not sure.
Would you be thinking more like seeing a recreation commissioner, we'll say one person looking forward to running the camp and answering to a recreation board like Hanson had? Because as of, I believe, the last meeting with all of the board resigning, there is no recreation commission right now. And the selectmen appoint the recreation commission. So not to put words in your mouth, but to just get back so people can understand this a little bit better. The current way that the Recreation Commission is appointed is through the Board of Selectmen. Is that how you see it?
Yes.
So you'd like to see the Board of Selectmen appoint a Recreation Commission, maybe hire a director, which would be an outside person,
Absolutely.
to come forward, and they would answer to the Rec Commission, and the Rec Commission would do what they normally do, and I believe what they normally do in the chain of command is answer to the Board of Selectmen.
Exactly. That would just be a perfect world there for Camp Kiwanee.
I think, and again, I'm not putting words in anyone's mouth, I think that that's the end that they're trying to get to, but I think there's a lot of stumbling going along on the way. I feel that we have a group that is so passionate, and it shows you really, ladies and gentlemen, the very heart of the people in Hanson. The heart of this community is out. They're here tonight. They were here a week ago. They want to save Camp Kiwanee. Everybody's trying to paddle in the same direction, and that would be metaphoric, seeing it as kayaking. I was up there earlier, and there's a lot of people that use the camp. So hopefully this will get resolved. I think we have a lot of smart people in Town Hall. I also believe that we have a lot of smart people in the town on the Rec Commission, and they're all going to do the right thing. And hopefully this will get resolved, and we'll be back to business as usual. So thank you all for coming. Keep Hanson alive.
Oh, yeah.
Welcome back to Municipal Focus. I'm Bob Hayes, and I have Wes and Joanne Bloss with me. We're here at Hanson Town Hall, and we're here with a very, very lively group about Save Our Kiwanee. But if I had to say something about Wes and Joanne, who I've known for many years, they are Camp Kiwanee. They are the foundation of Camp Kiwanee. They practically live there, other than I know they live someplace in town. So, Wes, give me a take, your years of experience. You're both teachers in town. You've grown up with hundreds and hundreds of children in town. You've done multiple plays in town. Give me the Camp Kiwanee skinny so the viewers will know what a great place it was, because when you see this show, you'll see I started at Camp Kiwanee.
Great.
Joanne.
It's a great place. It's the jewel of Hanson, and so many people have so many good memories of Camp Kiwanee. It's just so valuable to us. It's our identity. It's our heart. It's just too bad things had to get to this point.
Wes?
Well, in 1979, Hanson bought the camp as a recreation and community facility. And we realized early on we were going to have to do some rentals to subsidize recreation. So it's like it was always a balance. We offer recreation programs, many of them at Camp Kiwanee, and not always at Camp Kiwanee, but many at Camp Kiwanee. And we use the rentals to pay for a lot of the recreation so that Hanson taxpayers didn't have to do it. Once 2.5 came in 1980 and took effect in 1982, that just cut recreation budgets down to about nothing. So it was like, well, this is ideal. We can rent it. We can, Joanne and the Friends of Kiwanee have worked for years now to beautify the lodge. You look at the pictures of before, when we bought it, and the pictures now, well, no bride would have even stepped into Camp Kiwanee Main Lodge in 1979, 1990, and said, oh, what a nice place for a wedding. It was like, oh, now it's gorgeous, entirely volunteers.
Well, that's the whole crux of the whole thing. This has been a giant type of a thought of how it got to where it was, and that's why I asked you this question. Tremendous volunteer pace, as you said, the heart of Hanson, and I used that exact term a few minutes ago with some people that I interviewed. This is the heart and soul. It's good to see the community is alive in Hanson, even if it might be in some sort of a way that some people might look at it as negative. These are the things that make things into positive. So what you're saying to me, Wes, is the rentals and the recreation kind of washes?
Exactly. The rentals, we assumed when we started this, would subsidize recreation and keep the camp, looking good at its best.
Self-sufficient.
So that
Self-sufficient, and so that the taxpayers wouldn't have that burden, and the taxpayers can't afford that. We all realize in this day and age, you have priorities, and recreation is maybe not at the top there. You have to think about mortgages, you have to think about education. There's a lot to think about. So Camp Kiwanee should be a perfect example of having rentals that pay for the town recreation. And how it got mixed up or how we got to this point, I am just not sure. But it's got to go back to that. It has to. All these people here today, old, young, in between, that's what they're here to say. We want Camp Kiwanee to stay with the town, as part of the town, for the town. We want it the way it is.
as a recreational facility.
Well, as you both have stated, and I've seen, my mother, and we talked about this earlier, used to bring me to the Cove, and she used to tell me, that building is haunted. And I laugh because sometimes when I drive down there, I really do believe that. Both of you are so enthusiastic about the camp. I'm going to ask you this one last question because we're kind of getting to the bottom of wrapping up. And hopefully tomorrow we'll have a solution as a selectmen meeting this evening. Do you see us coming away with a viable ending to any of this?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think in the end, the townspeople will speak, like as they spoke in 1979 and as in 1990 when they combined recreation, Camp Kiwanee and Cranberry Cove into one commission to put it all under one roof. And I'm sure that in the long run, it will become a recreation facility again. That's not going to at all stop weddings or functions, but next year, there is no room for recreation at Camp Kiwanee. It's entirely rented out. And that's what we hope to see change.
Wes, Joanne, thank you so much for both of you coming. I can see in just what you're saying to me, your heart and soul is at Camp Kiwanee. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching another episode of Municipal Focus. We hope to wrap this and let you know what the selectmen have come to for a decision this evening. So stay tuned. We will be back.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.